We've all been told this same thing our whole lives. If you want to move on from pain, you have to forgive. It's praised as this super noble, high road kind of thing, right? The only way to let go and find peace. But let's be real for a second. How many times have you actually tried to do it? You say the words, I forgive you, maybe out loud, maybe just in your head, and nothing changes. That knot in your stomach, that sting of hurt, it's all still there. And it can just make you feel, broken. Like you failed at the one thing that was supposed to fix everything. So let's get into this, because what if the problem isn't you? What if the real problem is forgiveness itself? So this is the big question we're tackling today, and honestly, the answer might change how you see everything. We're going to dive into this really powerful idea that the whole act of forgiving can actually be a trap, a really subtle one. It's a trap that doesn't get rid of the pain at all. It just kind of repackages it, keeping us stuck with the very thing we're trying so desperately to escape. So we're going to look at exactly why that happens, and then we're going to find a much more powerful, more authentic path to that freedom we're all looking for. And spoiler alert, it's not forgiveness, it's acceptance. I really want you to take a second and think about this. Just bring to mind a time when you felt really, truly wronged, and you made a conscious effort to forgive. You went through all the steps, you told yourself, okay, it's in the past, I'm letting it go, and maybe you even felt a little flicker of relief, or maybe a sense of being the bigger person. But then what happened a week later, or month? A random memory pops up and bam, that same old sting comes rushing right back. That's the whole paradox of forgiveness, isn't it? You do the thing, you check the box, but the wound is just as raw as ever. And you're left thinking, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just get over this? It's such a lonely, frustrating feeling. But the idea we're exploring suggests the failure isn't you. The failure is built right into the way forgiveness works. Okay, so to really get why this tool we've been given so often backfires, we have to pull back the curtain and look at what we're actually doing when we say we forgive someone. The source material we're looking at today frames it in this really provocative way. It doesn't call it an act of humility. It calls it taking on a haughty position. Whoa, that's a pretty bold claim, so let's dig in and see what's behind it. Okay, check out this definition. What's so wild about it is the hidden power dynamic that it just lays bare. When you forgive, you are, by definition, setting up a courtroom inside your own head. And guess who you are? You're the judge, sitting up high, wearing the robes of righteousness. The other person, they're the one in the dock, already found guilty. And from your superior position, you hold all the power to grant them a pardon. You're basically saying, you were wrong and I am right, you are the guilty party, and I am the good person who is magnanimous enough to let you off the hook. Can you feel the distance in that? It's not about connection. It's an act that literally reinforces a hierarchy, with you sitting comfortably at the top. So here's the thing. This whole performance is a mental game. It's all happening in your head. It's your thinking mind trying to boss around your emotional heart. And just look at these points. When you confirm their guilt, you're actually making the story that you were wronged even stronger. You're basically pouring concrete around your identity as a victim, which makes it impossible for the wound to ever really close. And because it's an act of the mind, a logical choice to let it go, it doesn't actually touch the raw emotion. It just kind of sidesteps it. You tell yourself you're over it, but the anger, the sadness, the betrayal, all that energy has to go somewhere. So where does it go? You shove it down, deep, deep into your subconscious. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the real cost of pushing all that down. Imagine taking all that raw, unprocessed feeling and cramming it into a little box deep inside you. You slam the lid shut, slap a label on it that says forgiven, and then you try to walk away. But that box is humming with energy. It's vibrating, it leaks. And that buried pain doesn't just disappear, it starts to, metastasize. It can morph into this free-floating anxiety you can't quite name. It can become this deep apathy that just drains all the color out of your life. Or, as tons of research shows, it can literally show up as physical sickness. Your body ends up carrying the weight that your mind refused to deal with. The pain is still there, it's just wearing a different costume. So if forgiveness is the trap that keeps us chained to the story of who was right and who was wrong, how on earth do we get out? Well, this next part is where everything starts to shift. We're going to explore a completely different path to healing. It's not about ignoring what happened, and it's definitely not about pretending it was okay. It's about dropping the whole story. It's about discovering the quiet, simple, and profound power of acceptance. This is a massive shift in perspective, and it's so important we get this right. Acceptance is not approval. It's not condoning what someone did, and it's not just giving up and resigning yourself to misery. It is simply the act of looking at reality without any of the filters and just acknowledging what is. This happened. Period. Full stop. All the stuff we pile on top of that, it was unfair, he was evil, she shouldn't have done that, I'm the victim. That's the story. Acceptance is the radical act of letting go of that story and just being with the fact. You step down from the judge's bench. The courtroom is closed. You're just standing in a place of neutral observation. This slide just lays it all out, side by side, and the difference is crystal clear. Forgiveness needs a story with a villain. Acceptance just needs reality. Forgiveness puts you up on that pedestal looking down, but acceptance, it brings you right back to your own center, to a place of your own grounded power. Suddenly, it's not about them anymore. It's about you and your relationship with what's real. And here is the most important part. Forgiveness often just puts a band-aid over the pain, while acceptance is what actually allows the healing to start. Because only when you stop fighting what happened can that emotional energy finally move through you and be released. It's the difference between being trapped by an obligation and being truly, deeply free. Now let's be super clear about what we mean by love here. This is not some sentimental, mushy Valentine's Day kind of feeling. The source material describes it as a state of profound inner balance. It's a deep, quiet neutrality. It's when you can look at the person or think about the situation without that electric charge of anger or pain zapping you. The resistance is just gone. And from that place of balance, you can see everything, even the most painful parts of your story, as just part of the whole tapestry of life. Love, in this sense, is the neutral, life-giving energy that starts to flow again once our judgments aren't blocking it anymore. It's not something you do. It's the natural state you return to when you stop fighting. I know these ideas can feel a little up in the clouds. This is where the theory gets real. It's the story of a woman who spent years on this painful journey trying to forgive her father, and the incredible peace she found when she finally just gave up and chose acceptance instead. Okay, let's walk through this because it's an amazing transformation. For years, this daughter was basically living inside her mother's pain. She didn't have her own relationship with her dad, she had her mother's version of him. To her, he was just the bad guy who caused all the suffering. Then she tried to do what she thought she was supposed to do. She tried to forgive. She describes this as this huge, exhausting effort, always trying to push down her anger, trying to be the bigger person. It was a constant fight, and it brought her absolutely no peace. Then came the breakthrough, the big aha moment. She realized, this judgment I'm carrying isn't even mine. She was seeing her father through her mother's eyes, and in that one moment of clarity, she could finally step back into her own place as simply the daughter. Their story was their story. Her story was hers. And by just accepting that fact, everything shifted. It shines a huge spotlight on the massive difference between the kind of freedom we're promised by forgiveness and the kind of freedom we actually get from acceptance. It's the difference between being tangled up in duty and being truly, completely free. Let's really break this down, because this is so important. When you forgive someone, there's almost always this invisible social contract that comes with it. You know the feeling, right? It's that sense of, okay, I forgave them, so now we have to be okay. I have to answer their text. I have to go to the family dinner and pretend. This creates this deep inner resistance because you're forcing something that doesn't feel true. You're putting on a show. Acceptance, on the other hand, gives you total freedom. You get to choose. You can have a real, authentic connection, or you can maintain a real, authentic distance. The choice is yours, and it's guided not by what you should do, but by what is actually true for you right now. You are no longer trapped by what other people expect, or even by your own old ideas of what a good person does. So here's the bottom line, and it's probably the most liberating idea in this whole thing. Acceptance completely separates your inner peace from your external relationships. You can get to that state of neutral, unconditional love we talked about, that state of inner balance, and it can exist inside you whether you ever speak to that person again or not. You are free because your well-being no longer depends on them or their apology or what your relationship looks like. Your peace is yours, period. This is the ultimate test, right? The question from our source to ask yourself about any tough relationship you're dealing with. When you think about seeing them or talking to them, just check in with your body. How does it feel? Does your heart feel open? Is there a natural, easy flow? Or does your stomach clench up? Does it feel like a chore, this heavy weight of obligation, that feeling of duty? That's the ghost of unresolved pain. But the feeling of freedom, the ability to choose from a place of peace, that's the sign that you've truly actually healed. And this is really what it all boils down to. For so long, we've been obsessed with the act of forgiving, thinking it was the only road to our destination. but we mistook the car for the destination itself. The goal was never to perform an act of forgiveness. The goal was and always is to heal, to come back to a state of inner wholeness, balance, and peace. Forgiveness is a mental act from a place of superiority, but real healing comes from acceptance, a deep state of being from your own grounded center. So we'll leave you with this final thought. Forgiveness asks you to climb this steep, exhausting mountain that might not even lead where you want to go. It asks you to perform an act that can feel totally fake. But acceptance, it just asks you to stop fighting, to stop resisting reality. It asks you to gently put down the heavy story of who was right and who was wrong and just be with what is. So look at those parts of your life where you've been fighting that battle, trying so hard to forgive, and just ask yourself a new question. What here am I finally ready to accept?